flashing lights. In the zone, no losing sight. Pedal down, it's a blur of speed. Every turn just what we need. Drifting close to that white line. Pushing boundaries, feeling fine. Duracell cup, we race through night. Hearts are pounding, fierce and bright. Speeding past the checkered flag. Victory on the line, we brag. Helmet on, the world fades out. Focus sharp among the shouts. From the start to finish line, through the chaos we all shine. Grip the wheel tight, knuckles white. Thrill of danger heightens might. Crowds electric, senses burn. In this circus shadows turn. Lap by lap we chase the dream. Rivals' eyes flash in the beam. Sweat and tears we fight as one. In the end we rise like sun. We race through night, hearts are pounding, fierce and bright. Speeding past the checkered flag, victory on the line, we brag. Helmet on, the world fades out. Focus sharp among the shouts. From the start to finish line, through the chaos we all shine. Grip the wheel tight, knuckles white. Thrill of danger heightens might. Crowds electric, senses burn. In this circus shadows turn. Lap by lap we chase the dream. Rivals' eyes flash in the beam. Sweat and tears we fight as one. In the end we rise like sun. Sun, like sun. We rise like sun. We rise like sun. Engine roar, crowd goes wild. Fuel's on fire, adrenaline piled. Nights alive with flashing lights. In the zone, no losing sight. Pedal down, it's a blur of speed. Every turn just what we need. Drifting close to that white line. Pushing boundaries, feeling fine. Duracell cup, we race through night. Hearts are pounding, fierce and bright. Speeding past the checkered flag. Victory on the line, we brag. Helmet on, the world fades out. Focus sharp among the shouts. From the start to finish line, through the chaos we all shine. Grip the wheel tight, knuckles white. Thrill of danger heightens might. Crowds electric, senses burn. In this circus shadows turn. Lap by lap we chase the dream. Rivals' eyes flash in the beam. Sweat and tears we fight as one. In the end we rise like sun. We race through night, hearts are pounding, fierce and bright. Speeding past the checkered flag, victory on the line, we brag. Helmet on, the world fades out. Focus sharp among the shouts. From the start to finish line, through the chaos we all shine. Grip the wheel tight, knuckles white. Thrill of
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
And good afternoon, race fans. Welcome here as we get set for our 15th race of the 8th season of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series, our third Super Speedway stop of the season, and second race of the portion of the season that we are now dubbing the push towards the playoffs. You want a wild card race, you're getting one here today as we are getting ready to run at the debuting Progressive Super Speedway. We ended up seeing Dragonette make its debut on the schedule. The last time these drivers had a Super Speedway race, that was going all the way back to race number 10. Now it's another brand new Super Speedway here for these drivers, and I'll tell you what, the last couple of Super Speedway races we've had, it's been interesting about driver placement, right place, right time, because so far it's been all Matt Haas. He won the Daytona 500 to open up the season. He followed it up at Dragonette, and he's looking for 3 for 3 in Super Speedway wins this season. Can he pull it off? We'll have to wait and see. He'd love to, of course, not only get his third win of the season, but tie Carson Gum, who has already reached 3 victories this season for most wins on the season. Matt Haas as well, just as recent as last week at Charlotte, has moved his way up into the top 10 in the point standing, so he doesn't necessarily have to rely on his 2 victories for a wild card spot. However, bear in mind that when we get to the end of this regular season, not the bonus points included of the regular season champion, but each driver is going to end up getting 5 bonus points for every win they've gotten during the course of this regular season. So a third win means that's 15 bonus points that would be headed in the direction of Matt Haas if he can indeed go 3 for 3. I don't think we've ever seen a driver be able to do something like that, be that kind of dominant at a super speedway. Super speedways are so unpredictable. You usually expect to see a different winner every time we go to a specific venue, and the fact that he's been able to win 2 in a row, keep your eyes on that number 8 car here this afternoon. Not sure how important track position is going to be here today, because we see at super speedways you can start middle of the pack, you can be rear of the field, and you can make your way up to the front rather quickly. But clocking in at the fastest times here yesterday in pole day qualifying was Joshua Osborne, capturing his first pole of the season, and he's going to share the front row with Anthony McCurry. This is back-to-back weeks that the Joanna Atwood Motorsports Chevrolet is starting on the pole position. Of course, Quentin Moore was the pole sitter last week, and Osborne, hoping that this translates into his first win of the season. He was doing well around the tail end of the first half of this regular season, was up there around that 10th of standings cut line. Since then, poor run at Charlotte, didn't fare so well just before the All-Star break at Chicagoland. He has drifted now down to 17th in the point standings. However, he's only about, let me see if I can quickly do the math, 21 points below the 10th of standings cut line. So a win here today, a good finish, could move him back up into playoff conversation. A driver that's nowhere close to playoff conversation right now is Anthony McCurry. Anthony really needs to get this season turned around. He is 38th in the point standings coming into this one. He does have 3 top 5s, but they're his only top 10s as well so far this season. Average finishing position of around 26th in the first 14 races. Really needs to get this season turned around. Maybe he could do it here today and find victory lane. Incredible as it may seem, people may not realize this, Anthony is still searching for his first Duracell Cup Series victory. He is winless in his career here in this series. So maybe it'll happen here today. Eric Sadler going to line up in the third position. Eric, a driver that we kind of expected beginning the season that he would show up and show out at the super speedways because his prior experience was racing in the now defunct Skittle Super Speedway series. However, he seems to be doing a lot better, it seems, at these shorter racetracks with a victory this year at North Wilkesboro. Eric comes into this one ninth in the point standings, so he's already in the top 10 in the standings. And then alongside of him is Benjamin Miles. Benjamin Miles, he is another driver, much kind of like Joshua Osborne, who a couple of weeks ago we were talking about him up inside the top 10 in the point standings. Granted, he hasn't won this season, but he's been very consistent. He hit a speed bump just before the All-Star break, and of course last week at Charlotte. Miles comes into this race now, finding himself 18th in the point standings, dropped 7 spots in overall points after the conclusion of the Charlotte race last week. So looking to rebound as he's going to line up on outside of row number 2. A lot of different storylines for just about every one of the 42 drivers in the field. We'll try and cover them all during the course of this race, but it's time to go down trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Bottom right of your screen will show your 42 cars getting ready for this afternoon's 78 lapper at this just under 2.6 mile super speedway. Here's your point standings coming into this one. Your playoff grid would currently look like this. Levi McIntyre, the points leader, 14 points in hand over Carson Gum. Ryan Brommer, who picked up his first win in a long time last week. He is going to line up third in points with Alexander Rowe and James Qualls right now your top 5. Jack Mitchell 6th, Quentin Moore up to 7th, Matt McIntyre 8th, Eric Sadler, Matt Haas, as we mentioned, 9th and 10th. Those drivers right now would be in the playoffs on points should the regular season have concluded last week. Daniel Voiles and Nathan Orman, both those drivers failed to make it back up in the top 30 in points at the conclusion of the Charlotte race. So right now, your wild card spots, 2 drivers would get in on wins, 4 drivers would get in on points. Number 1 seed would go to Destin Bolin, 2 wins, 27th in points. Number 2 seed Connor Breton, 1 win, 16th in overall points. And right now, the drivers 11th through 14th in the standings would get in on the points in the final 4 wildcard spots. Those would be Nick Gunther, Michael Norman, Summer Henson, and teammate Laura Chung. Again, a lot could change here during the course of this race. Brand new debuting super speedway. And a super speedway in every sense. We're going to see 2, 3, even maybe 4 wide here. We saw nearly 4 wide and pulled a qualifying yesterday. Expect the unexpected. Could have a shakeup in the points at the conclusion of this one. As Joshua Osborne brings his Chevrolet, Anthony McCurry brings his Mazda down the front straightaway. Start-finish line isn't until you almost get over here to the entry of turn number 1. So they got the whole straightaway from turn 4 to work with coming to the checkers. But the green flag is out, and we are racing at Progressive. Progressive not just in the sponsorship here, but Progressive also in the characteristics of the racetrack. Progressive banked corners. 20 degrees down there on the double yellow line, and as you start to make your way up to the outside wall, you start getting into the 32 degree range. Progressive banking makes it a little bit easier for drivers to be able to maintain momentum through the corners, makes for the double wide and 3 wide racing we're going to see during the course this afternoon as Osborne is going to lead the first lap of this race. You saw him move up to the middle line with Charles Sanford to turn away the challenge down low from the GameStop Dark Horse Mustang of Eric Sadler, as we're already looking 4 wide further back there. That's Michael Norman way down on the bottom. Now settles out to 3 wide. Destin Bolin, Summer Henson were in the middle of what was going to be the 4 wide situation. Looking at Reggie Fogelman there in the middle, the Taco Bell Toyota Camry. As battle for the lead is on, and looks like Charles Sanford's going to make a move. He's going to have drafting help From Anthony McCrory, Sanford, the GoBowling.com Chevrolet, the former champ, is going to lead that lap. Charles Sanford coming into this 133rd in the point standings, only one top 5 so far this season, 2 finishes inside of the top 10. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think it was during the All-Star break. S3 Motorsports comes into this season having won 3 championships in a row. Season 5 with the conglomeration of Kyle Matthews, Stephen Pollard III, and Caleb Fogler. Season 6 with Charles Sanford, and of course the defending champion Jessica Shelton. Only driver right now out of that stable that is even remotely in the potential conversation to battle for a playoff spot would be Cole Deaver. He is 15th in the points coming to this one, 3 points outside of the 6th and final wild card spot. The other 3 teammates, the 3 former champions, right now Charles Sanford, the highest of those, in 33rd, Kyle Matthews 36th, Jessica Shelton 40th in the points. Osborne back to the lead. Nathan Ormond did have second. Sanford gonna put a move on him there and move on by, but Nathan Ormond, former winner from very early on this season at Manassas, finding himself one of 2 drivers with a win but outside the top 30 in points. Nathan coming in as 137th in the standings. He is 32 points below the cut line necessary to have his win even count towards a playoff spot. Daniel Voiles, who right now scoring is showing him back in the 18th position, he comes into this 135th in the point standings. He is 21 points below said cut line. So we'll keep an eye on those 2 drivers during the course of this race, see if they can get closer to the 30th in standings vicinity and maybe, just maybe, find themselves in a wild card spot heading into next week at Hillside. Ormond going to try and lead a lap here. Benjamin Miles with a big run, and we're going 4. Osborne, Fogelman way up the track there. Osborne almost in the wall. And Ormond is going to win the exchange of that 4-wide situation. Still 4 wide down the back straightaway. James Qualls, former points leader. Our Indianapolis winner, 5th in the standings now, trying to make his way up the inside. Our points leader, Levi McIntyre, is right there in the middle. You see him just in front of Austin LaPlante, the Nutella number 99. And Nathan Ormond will continue to show the way. Pretty handy advantage for the moment over side by side for second on back. Miles versus Sanford, Fogelman versus Osborne. Casey Hoyt now up here in this conversation. So if you look quickly, that's 3 of the Northeast Motorsports cars up here, the 24, the 25, and the 48, all inside of the top 10. Only one missing would be the only driver so far that has won this season for the organization, that being Connor Breeton's 88, who is right now at the tail end of the field. Four wide again. This time Michael Norman in the middle with Charles Sanford. Michael Norman been pretty consistent here during the course of the home stretch, the first half of the regular season. Didn't fare so well last week at Charlotte. Lost 3 spots in the standings, dropping him out of the top 10 in overall points, but he's only 5 points below the 10th in the standings cut line, and as we mentioned right now, would sit in the number 4 seed for a wild card spot. Michael Norman Motorsports been very well known for their super speedway program. So far, none of their drivers have won any of the super speedway races so far this season. As a matter of fact, let's check in as this battle continues to swip swap between Benjamin Miles and Charles Sanford. Let's find the driver that has won the 2 previous super speedway races. That would be Matt Haas, and there he is. He's quite a ways back here. Last time by, he was scored next to last, 41st, and that's about where he's running right now. As a matter of fact, he's dead last currently, coming off of turn 4 to complete lap number 9. Could be some strategy. I mean, hey, whatever strategy he had in the first 2 superspeedway races, they certainly worked out. And we'll check in on him during the course of this race, see if he makes any forward progress, if he continues to decide to run towards the back. Some other drivers running well in points are kind of back here too. Nick Gunther, Laura Chung, Alexander Rowe, Jack Mitchell, Matt McIntyre. These are all drivers that I named off the current playoff standings. Carson Gum actually just up ahead there as well, 3-time winner. So a lot of these guys, I guess, feel that being at the back right now is the best place to be. They might be just kind of in ride mode. There's last week's winner, Ryan Brommer, just outside the top 30. Coming off snapping the long winless streak. His first win with an organization not known as Bulldog Motorsports. He's been with a couple of teams since he drove a Dodge for that organization. He was with Fortnite Squad Racing for a season, back in season 5. And then made the move over here to Auto Junction Racing, where last season he found a consistent streak. He just never could find victory lane, and now, at this point in time, he's prepared to go playoff racing. There was a time where he and Zach Rogers, when the two of them had that 2-car team with Bulldog Motorsports, they always seemed like those two were shoo-ins of making it into the playoffs each and every season. Dylan Young up here now, starting to feel a little bit of Ford presence at the top 5 positions. Orman now has rookie Eric Monaco up here in the 45. Dylan Young in the 2, who faded back to 5th, and Orman's going to get freight trained down on that inside line. Ooh, look at the run there Osborne had, and Eric Monaco saw it coming. He'll jump down in front of the 27. Look how that killed the momentum of Osborne. He's going to fall back now. Get swallowed up 3 wide going into turn 1. And nearly contact back there between, I think that was Cody Lamas and James Qualls around the 8th position. I don't know if it's tempting fate, but people may be wondering, what is the fuel window for these drivers this afternoon? Can they make it the entire scheduled 78 laps on what they've got in the tank? The answer is no, they cannot. Numbers I was basically given was anywhere between 60 to 65 laps that they can make it on a tank of fuel. Obviously, that's a long ways off if these drivers are going to stretch it as far as they could possibly go, but just kind of keep that in the back of our minds as we head closer towards the conclusion of this race. And caution is out. So that may take the fuel conversation completely out of play. Yellow flag waves for the first time this afternoon on lap 14. We're watching the battle back to the caution. Dylan Young putting the pressure on Sanford as he tried putting a move on him out of turn 4. Nope, he backs off. You saw right there, he breathed the throttle. That may lose him second place because Miles has a big run coming down the front straightaway. Nope, D Young's going to hang on. And ooh, smoke over here in turn 1. Hopefully whatever it was is cleared with the leaders entering into the vicinity. And it looks like it has. More smoke up there towards the exit of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. So it looks like this started in the center of the corner and kept going towards the exit. And let's see who it might have involved. And Jack Mitchell is involved. That car looks like it may have been up and over. Looks like there's some roof damage on that machine. Benjamin Snyder is back here as well. I'll be shocked if it was just a 2-car incident being a super speedway, but it very well might have been. And Mitchell looks like he may have taken the worst of whatever this was. We'll go back and take a look at a replay as we've got the leaders coming down pit road. Here's a look at it. We'll see if we can figure out how this incident began. Oh, 4 wide up ahead, and oh, wow! Kyler Sustre Comes down the racetrack right in front of Quentin Moore. And then nowhere for Jack Mitchell to go. And Jack slams on the brakes there, and the car never refires again. Was the hit that violent in the outside wall that it killed the race car? He never did get up and over either. I thought from the camera angle we had, I thought that he may have flipped. It looked like the hood was dented in. Let's watch the impact again here and see. We may actually miss it here with this camera shot. Yeah, it's already in progress. Dylan Poteet, Eric Sadler might have gotten pieces of this as well. You see right there, Mitchell is hard on the brakes, and then the car just screeches to a halt. It didn't, honestly, I'm going to be honest, it didn't look like that big a hit. Let's see if the helicopter cam gives us a better idea of the impact. Oh, you know what? From that, it looks like Mitchell was slowing. I think that's why Sustre ducked out when he did. Something was wrong on the BP Ultimate machine. Let's go on board and listen in, because I think either the engine was going or he had a tire down or something. Listen carefully. He just gets, either he gets on the brakes, but you could hear something went. So something potentially mechanical. Might have felt there was a tire going down. That quick move by Sustre in front of Quentin Moore was not on purpose. It wasn't an aggressive move. He was actually moving out of the way with the slower car in front of him. And then we saw the tire marks up there on the exit of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. Here's a look at that. Up ahead of the Mitchell incident, Benjamin Snyder up the track. He's riding the wall all the way through the corner. And right here, you're going to see off of turn 2, the car just kind of starts going into a drift, goes spinning around, and I don't believe anybody hits him. Ooh, Eric Sadler nearly clobbered him. But just a little solo car spin there for Benjamin Snyder after the caution had already flown. We'll have to see if Mitchell, if whatever was wrong with his car, if it's terminal. Nope, looks like he's coming back out onto the track. There he is. Might have been an electrical problem. Whatever it was, he slowed up into turn 1. Fortunately, they were able to get whatever the problem was fixed. He's going to return to the track, but the bad news is he's 2 laps down. Should get the lights out this next time by, and Charles Sanford was able to hold the race lead off of pit road, but a couple of drivers that were up there at the front did not maintain their positioning. Dylan Young and Benjamin Miles came down pit road 2nd and 3rd. They left 20th and 21st. So that says to me that some drivers like Charles Sanford and your front runners may have gone with gas and go. Other drivers like Dylan Young and Benjamin Miles, they may have gone with tires. And actually, no, I'm being told that the reason that Dylan Young and Benjamin Miles are as far back as they are, the top 19 stayed out. We cut back to the replay when drivers were coming down pit road, so we didn't see all of who actually came down pit road. Charles Sanford stayed out, as did the other 18 cars behind him. So, as I said, it's about 60 to 65 laps, I was told, they can make on fuel. We crossed the window for them to be able to pretty much make it the rest of the way if they all came down pit road under this caution. So these other drivers up here, they're banking on the fact we're going to see another yellow. Whereas Dylan Young, Benjamin Miles, Jesse Turner, Cody Lamasan back, they believe that this race could go green the rest of the way. They gave up the track position now for the security on fuel. So your top 10 will be Charles Sanford, Casey Hoyt, Nathan Ormond, Destin Bolin, Summer Henson, that's your top 5. Daniel Voiles in 6th with Anthony McCurry, Kyle Matthews, Levi McIntyre, and Michael Norman, the top 10. Interesting. The 2 drivers that are outside the top 30 in points going with the strategy of track position over fuel here. Ormond going to restart 3rd. Voiles going to restart in 6th. We'll see how that pans out for them as this race continues on. Going to be 60 laps to go when we hit the stripe this next time by. Jack Mitchell, I assume, is going to be up to speed. Had some right side damage after getting squeezed up into the wall there, but I don't think they'll have him that far off the pace, provided they have completely fixed whatever the issue was he had going into turn 1. So he won't be a moving chicane, and he could potentially be an extra drafting partner for somebody here. But he'd love to get by Charles Sanford, get a quick yellow, get one of those 2 laps back, get himself one step closer to being back on the lead lap as green flag is in the air. And Nathan Norman's going to jump to the bottom behind Mitchell, hoping that Mitchell will help lead him to the front, to the race lead. Already fanning out 3 wide of the back straightaway. Saw Laura Chung make that actually Summer Henson. Anthony McCurry, Levi McIntyre all jumping down to the double yellow line. Sanford picked the right lane. He's going to be clear for the lead through 3 and 4. Here comes a run by the defending Rookie of the Year, Casey Hoyt, who's going to swing around the outside of him easily. And the Raising Cane Chevrolet Camaro is going to pull away and lead this lap. Casey Hoyt, 3-time winner. Ooh, we almost had a wreck back there. Nathan Ormond got really loose and almost got turned by Summer Henson. But Hoyt, a 3-time winner last season, made the jump over to Northeast Motorsports this season, and he finds himself currently 23rd in points. The stats look pretty good. In the first 14 races, 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s, but the average finishing position says otherwise, 21st place. Jack Mitchell now going to move to the front, trying to get that lap back. Now he gets stuck in the middle. Here comes Charles Sanford going back to the point, or trying to, on that inside line. Destin Boland, 2-time winner, now up here in the conversation. And outside of the front row, Anthony McCurry, with help from Michael Norman, making his way back up to the front. How about that bright yellow 09 of Kyle Matthews? Remember, Kyle, was it 2 seasons ago, I believe, ended up winning a super speedway race at Coca-Cola Super Speedway, so he knows how to get around tracks of this type of configuration. And Ryan Brommer, last week's winner, didn't take him long to come up to the front, obviously based off of some of that strategy of staying out under this yellow. Same can be said for former Duracell Next Gen Cup Series champion Chris Dollerton, who's in the All-Star car this week out of Blue Oval Automotive. He and Bryce Egan were the 2 non-charter drivers to qualify their way in yesterday in pole day qualifying. So we mentioned it was a mixed bag as battle is on for the lead up here. Anthony McCurry making a move on Casey Hoyt. Mentioned it was a mixed bag of drivers staying out to drivers coming to pit road. Right now, highest running of those that came to pit road would be Joshua Osborne, the 27. There you see the pole sitter up there on the outside line. Last time by, he was scored in 11th. Jesse Turner has moved up to 13th. Benjamin Miles up to 14th place. So, yeah, they've got that security on fuel, and they've been able to make up ground since the drop of the green flag for this restart as well. I like the strategy of those that came to pit road. I am very nervous about those that elected not to pit, because it's unlikely, but in the occasion that we run green the rest of the way, all those other drivers, they're going to have to pit, while the other drivers will be able to run the risk of staying out. And remember, we ended up having a fuel strategy race just last week in our longest race of the season at Charlotte. Ryan Brommer was really the only driver that had enough fuel to get to the conclusion. Just about everybody else had to come to pit road with about 5 laps remaining, as I thought I just saw, I might be wrong, but I thought I saw some smoke lingering up there on the top of 1 and 2 again. We are still green. We have also had a driver come to pit road and head to the garage area. Mechanical failure for Cody Lamas. Engine piston, the diagnosis on the 84 car. And so Cody's going to be the first DNF of the afternoon. You guys will have seen what happened with him on the racetrack, courtesy of the NNSCRA split cam. Let's look up here in 1 and 2 again, see if it's just the lighting or if I indeed saw some smoke lingering up there. If there was smoke, it has since dissipated. I think those skid marks you saw up there are from Benjamin Snyder. And we already showed you the replay of that just after the first caution flew. So tough break there for Cody, who is beginning the upward climb in points, 21st in the standings coming into this one. He was 24 points below the 10th in the standings cut line coming into this afternoon's race. Casey Hoyt continuing to show the way. Anthony McCurry, Michael Norman keep taking turns on trying to make some moves on his Chevrolet, but Casey with the preferred lane. And now side by side for second. Yeah, Progressive Superspeedway is an interesting racetrack in the fact that some people call it a super speedway, other people just call it a speedway. You see how the field's kind of spread out, how different drivers are able to generate runs on their own, but the draft is also prevalent here. It can hold them 3 wide, 4 wide, so it takes on a lot of the aspects of both speedway and super speedway racing. It's not your bumper to bumper, door to door, 3x3x3 like we'll get at Talladega, Daytona, even as recent as back at Dragonette. Oh, we said we were going to check in on him as the race went on. Our 2-time Super Speedway winner on the season, Matt Haas. When we saw him prior to the caution flying, Matt was back at the very tail end of the field. He was, I'm being told, one of the drivers that elected to stay out under this caution, so he is one of those that would be short on fuel to make it the rest of the way, and so we drop back to him. Here he is with his teammate Reggie Fogelman. Right now, last time by, scored in the 30th position, so he's made up some ground from when we last saw him, but he has lost ground from the restart, as he would have restarted up inside of the top 20, with there being 19 drivers that went with the stay-out strategy. Right now, the highest driver that did come to pit road, as we've got some stragglers here, Snyder, Quentin Moore, and Kyler Sustre, who all got damage from the incidents under that first yellow. But right now, the highest running of the drivers that did come to pit lane, I believe, would be this driver right here, Jesse Turner, in the 47. Jesse coming into this one 29th in points. And Jesse was one of those drivers that we kind of had in the conversation of those that really needed to get their season turned around. They were mired down in the point standings. Last couple of races, he has 1 or 2 positions climbed up in points. And looking strong here again today. So Jesse Turner, who is usually one of those drivers that if you put together a fantasy playoff grid, you usually have him as a lock. Usually makes an appearance, whether pointing his way in or winning his way into the postseason. Trying to get into postseason form here this afternoon. Battle for the lead is between him and the 24. The 0-1 of Jack Mitchell up here, if you're just joining us, had an issue going into turn 1, slowed, and it led to a checkup, bringing out our first and up to this point only caution of the afternoon. Came to pit road, they got whatever the problem was fixed, but he lost 2 laps in the process. Now, ahead of new race leader Jesse Turner, Mitchell would be only 1 lap down. He'd love to see a caution right now, have an opportunity to start in the lucky dog position on the inside line of the front row on the upcoming next restart, if we were to get one, get that lap back and be back on the lead lap with a shot of maybe being able to be in the conversation for his 2nd win on the season. How about Keith Batson up here now in that Sprite Ford Mustang? You talk about another driver that we've seen last couple of seasons pretty consistently up there in the conversation for a playoff position. He's going to swing around the outside of Jesse Turner and go to the front. Keith coming into this race 26th in the standings. Did not fare well last time out at Charlotte, dropping 5 spots in the standings. And here comes Chris Dollerton in the 82, the part-time driver. Dollerton would love to be able to get back to victory lane. I'm trying to remember back if Dollerton's ever won a super speedway race in Duracell Cup competition, and I don't believe he has. So today could potentially be his first. Dollerton, of course, in that all-star car that swaps between several of the familiar names that we used to see race for Blue Oval Automotive, the grizzled veterans, if you will. Dollerton, Trey Wright, Jordan Lopez, the former champion, and of course the now tied for most career wins in Duracell Cup Series competition, Jose Mills. I say tied because, of course, you go back to Chicagoland a few weeks ago. Carson Gum got his 3rd win of the season, but 10th win of his career, which ties him now with Jose Mills for most wins overall in Duracell Cup Series competition. Well, Jesse Turner we saw up here at the front, and I've noticed that now all 3 of the Lake Effect Autosport cars are up here lingering just inside or outside of the top 10. There's Eric Monaco in the 45. Top side, you see the Dunkin' Donuts 46 of Alexander Rowe, and the 47 Jesse Turner right there as well. Teammates can be very important in super speedway racing, and right now you've got 3 teammates out of that organization all clumped up together, so pretty nice scenario for all of them. Monaco and Turner, they did come to pit road under the caution. Did Alexander Rowe? He did not. So right now the 45 and the 47 would be on the same page. The 46 would be the outlier of the team cars on strategy. Just now making his way up into the top 10. How about the former champ Caleb Fogler? We talked about Blue Oval Automotive. Here's one of their full-time drivers. Kind of boxed in right there going into turn 1 in the Bible Broadcasting Network Dark Horse Mustang. Caleb Fogler has been very under the radar, not by choice here at the beginning of this season. He has struggled so far, only 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s in these first 14 races, 34th in points. He's looking for a breakout race to get himself up there in the point standings, get back to victory lane as well. And Kyle Matthews just went to the front for a brief moment. Jesse Turner moving on by him. Well, actually, no, that wasn't actually for the lead. That was for 2nd place. Keith Batson is the leader, as he and the lap car of Jack Mitchell pulled way ahead here. And look at the run. Look at the run Turner's got heading into turn 1. You want to be out front, but you don't want to be that far out in front. About 3 laps away from crossing the halfway threshold here. We do have another driver who is a lap down according to scoring, and that is the 4 of Kyler Sustre, who I'm not certain if he has made his pit stop here that he had to make, or if this was an unscheduled pit stop. He's up there towards the front of this lead group. There he is right there, but right now being scored 40th, 1 lap down. I don't know if he had to come to pit road to repair some kind of damage, if there was an issue. He was confirmed one of the 19 drivers that stayed out under the caution flag, so may have felt that bite the bullet now, make the pit stop now. He's lost a lap as a result of it, and I don't know what the strategy would be here going forward to get back on the lead lap, unless he feels he has a strong enough car to get up there to the front of this pack, get ahead of the leader, catch a caution. But that's certainly bad news for all the other now 18 drivers that are still yet to make a pit stop in this race if we continue to go green. Oh, got a car up in the wall. Was that Summer Henson? No, it was Laura Chung. And we're still green. Matt Haas is way back here now. I wonder if that might be why Kyler Sustre came to pit road and why Matt Haas is way back here. Drivers going up to that extreme outside line groove and overstepping the cushion. Now Chung is way, way back here. Remember, she was in the final wild card spot of our live playoff standings, and Matt Haas, who had just made his way back in the top 10 in points, two-time winner. The likelihood right now of him going 3 for 3 in super speedway racing is seeming unlikely, and you see the smoke lingering there up on the top side. That was from the Laura Chung incident. Car never went fully around, even though cars were in the vicinity, so we remain green at this point in time. I said that this was going to be a wild card race. We would see the point standings shake up with Haas running back there, Laura Chung now way back there, Quentin Moore off the pace, coming into this race 7th in the stands. I think we're going to see exactly that. There's going to be a lot of moving and shaking around those cut line positions, whether it be 10th in the standings, around that final wild card spot in the standings. Maybe even the top 30 in points as they're catching up here to Quentin Moore and his teammate James Qualls right there. Big lift coming off of turn 2 for the 70, who had a nice run down the front straightaway. But James Qualls, he's trying to get his momentum back. Qualls had an incredible start to the season, went to Victory Lane, Indianapolis. He was leading the point standings, but then kind of hit a bit of a skid around Darlington. Had his points lead eaten into, lost the points lead at Chicagoland, and now finds himself after Charlotte 5th in points, 40 points out of the top spot. Qualls, who last season was the epitome of consistency and domination, winning 3 races and finishing up in the top 5 in the point standings. Won those 3 races, as a matter of fact, in 4 weeks, including back-to-back weeks. Looking good here this afternoon, and Qualls is one of those drivers right now that could make it on fuel. He did pit under the caution. Right now, if you're looking at drivers up here at the front that had come to pit road that are in your side of your top 10, Miles, Turner, Qualls, your top 3, Caleb Fogler, Joshua Osborne, Daniel Bouchard, and RJ Bishop. All at this point in time projected can make it the rest of the distance on what they've got in the tank. Bouchard getting shuffled up the racetrack there in the 33. He had a great run going last time out at Charlotte, and that of course ended up ending poorly for him. Had that a lot this season. A lot of drivers that have had what look like are going to be breakout races, and then circumstances don't work out in their favor, and the finishing result is nowhere close to indicative of just how strong a showing they were going to have. As Jesse Turner back to the point, and I'll tell you what, you know, we saw Charles Sanford beginning of this race. Seemed like he would be able to control the lanes. If somebody got around him, he would immediately pass them back. Right now, Jesse Turner looks like he's that driver. He and Benjamin Miles both, they keep slip-swapping the top spot back and forth and back and forth. There's some drivers behind that would love to get into this conversation, like Kyle Matthews, Caleb Fogler, Nathan Ormond. Right now, it has been the 24 and the 25 and the 47 that have pretty much been showing the way ever since we went back green. They got up to the front. Caleb Fogler now going to jump to the outside of Jesse Turner. Miles saw that coming. He jumps up there to the outside line as well, hoping that the 28 will help push him out clear in front. Joshua Osborne back up in this conversation, trying to go coast to coast here. That's tough enough to do at a super speedway. Start at the front, finish at the front. At the beginning and conclusion of 78 laps. Charles Sanford, who's had a very strong car, but he's still got to come to pit road here at some point in this race. He's still up here. And how about Austin LaPlante? Good run for the 48 car here. Austin coming to this one 39th in points. Second highest of the full-time chartered drivers. Last time by was scored in 12th. I think if I'm eyeballing it right now, he'll cross the line somewhere around 8th or 9th, I think. This time at the stripe. Let's see. He's going to be... says 7th. Want to wait and see if that is official. It is. 7th place right now for the 48 car. Dustin Boland to his inside there. Dustin, I don't know, Dustin keeps flirting with fate, it seems. Two-time winner, and he made his way back up into the top 30 in points. And now we talk about him currently in the number 1 wildcard seed. However, he'll gain a spot in points, he'll lose a spot in points. He'll gain a spot in points, he'll lose a spot in points, it seems, every week. So he's not out of the danger zone yet. He's 27th in points. He's only 14 points to the good. He needs a string of good races to be able to get away from that 30th and Staines cut line and keep himself firmly in the wild card conversation. Right now, up inside of the top 10, last time by in 9th. As look at this battle up in front of him. Now we're 3 by 3 by 3, about 2-3 rows deep. Caleb Fogler has gone to the point. Now ahead of Kyle Matthews and Daniel Bouchard. That's the battle for second. Bouchard with the run down the back straightaway, going to take the runner-up spot. Now he'll look to the outside of Fogler, headed through 3 and 4. Here comes Kyle Matthews on the pit road, and I do believe this is regularly scheduled stops. His teammate Charles Sanford is coming in as well. No, yes, actually that is Sanford, but I misidentified. I thought that Sanford was the second car. That's Michael Norman. Sanford is coming in, though, along with Dollerton, Orman. This is a majority of the drivers, as there was a little contact right there between Voiles and Gunther, but this is the majority of drivers that didn't pit under the caution. Shelton and Alexander Rowe just now leaving pit road as well. These drivers are now hoping that the other drivers that pit under the caution cannot make it. Keith Batson coming in. He and I believe Destin Boland, Summer Henson are some of the last ones that need to hit pit road here. I think that's Henson back there. It is. There's Boland. Somebody else is back there pitting with him too. Zachary Fitzwater. Was Fitzwater another driver that hadn't pitted yet? Yes, he was. So I believe that is all the drivers now on pit road that had not come to pit lane under the caution. So now the question is, all the drivers that pitted, now the number that we were given said that about 60 laps at the very minimum was the furthest a driver could go on a tank of fuel. Most drivers came to pit road with about, what was it, 63, 64 laps remaining. We went back green with 60 laps to go. It could be close. It could be close on whether these drivers can make it or not. All those that just pitted are hoping that these drivers cannot make it and will have to come to pit road. But everybody that pit looks like they all fell a lap down. I mean, you're carrying over 210 miles per hour here on the racetrack. Pit road speed, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 70 miles per hour. It might be 55, but I believe it's 70. No, it is 55. Wow, that's a crawl when you consider the speed that they're carrying out there on the racing surface itself. So yeah, there's pretty much a guarantee that you're going to end up losing a lap here on a green flag pit stop. So they need this thing to run green, and these drivers here to not be able to make it on fuel have to come to pit road. And let's actually find those group of drivers that did come to pit road. Have they gotten themselves organized into a pack? And the answer to that looks like a pretty resounding no. There's a little group right here of about 6 or 7. These drivers right now, they're concerned about lap times. Closing up the gap, however minuscule, between themselves and the lap times being run by the lead group that have all been able to stay out here, currently have the security blanket of fuel. Rowan Matthews up here. I believe they're some of the front runners of the drivers that had to pit. These are all drivers right here that have already pit and are hoping they can make it the rest of the way. You got Carson Gum up here in this conversation. I was noticing some other stragglers back here as well. Connor Breton in the 88, RJ Bishop in the 98, Dylan Young in the 2. Got rookie Bryce Egan there with James Qualls, Cole Deaver, and Matt McIntyre. Looks like those are the 17 drivers right now up to speed, trying to remain in this lead pack with a shot at this thing, provided again they can make it the rest of the way. Coming up to 25 laps to go pretty soon. Again, if you're just joining us, we've got some split strategy after we had our only caution of the day back within the first 20 laps. Handful of drivers, 19 in total, elected to stay out under that caution. They have all since made a pit stop here under green. The drivers that did pit, they have stayed out and are hoping they can make it the rest of the way. We currently have 41 drivers running, 19 of them scored on the lead lap. The only driver out of the race, mechanical problem for Cody Lamas. Most everybody is one lap down that is off the lead lap. Jack Mitchell, who had some type of a problem that led to our first and only caution at this point, is right there, second car in line, but currently the only car 2 laps down to the race leader. Eric Sadler, we've been focused on him for a while. He has been able to maintain a bit of a gap back to second place, and that's because they're battling for second place. Carson Gum now going to try and pull away from this and get up there to battle with Eric Sadler, who's got a bit of a cushion with the lap car of Jack Mitchell between himself and the Fastenal Toyota. Carson Gum trying to get up here and win his 4th race of the season. Mention about the fact we've had 3-time winners before. Last season you had Connor Breton with 3 wins. You had James Qualls with 3 wins. Casey Hoyt had 3 wins. Jessica Shelton had 3 wins. Matthew Rodriguez had 3 wins. So we've had 3-time winners in a single season before. I don't think we've ever had a 4-time winner. Actually, nope, correction. We have had a 4-time winner. Go back to season 5, or season 6 rather. Nick Gunther was a 4-time winner in Duracell Cup Series competition. So Carson looking to be the second driver to match that feat. I'd forgotten that Nick was a 4-time winner that season. It's amazing he didn't win the championship that year. He finished 11th in points that year. Had 2 poles and 4 victories. Right now, it may not seem like much, but this little 2-car tandem of Eric Sadler and Jack Mitchell, they are putting together some good lap times. I mentioned that this is a speedway / super speedway in the type of aspects, and right now the smaller your group, the more speed you actually are able to produce. Eric Sadler is running, with just having Jack Mitchell as his wingman, he is running about 2 to 3 tenths faster than the drivers behind him. Although right now it looks like Mitchell's breaking away from Eric Sadler, and that may allow Sadler to get swallowed up. He needs the 0-1 to get back up to him here. As it looked like second place on back closed up quick. Yeah, here comes Nathan Orman. Big run. Look at the speed he is carrying. Gracious sakes alive. Yeah, the field kind of got broken up back there, and now they're all taking advantage of the draft. And Orman just blew the doors off of Eric Sadler. He's going to go to the front as we're having a little bit of frame issue there. I don't know what's going on in that regard. Hopefully that sorts itself out, but Orman's going to easily fly by to the lead. Batson's going to move into second. That moves Sadler back to third. One thing I'd be a little bit concerned about here is if they're not pack racing, they're not being able to really save fuel. They're consuming more fuel here with the single car speed and everything. The question of whether these drivers can make it the rest of the way seemed like it was pretty much the answer was yes, but now I almost wonder. I don't know. Keith Batson now going to close up on Nathan Ormond. He's going to dive to the inside. These two now going to be side by side. It's going to stall out their momentum. They do have a slower car of Benjamin Snyder up ahead as well. Let's find third place, which right now scoring shows to be Jessica Shelton. Ooh, Carson Gum getting eaten up there. Something's happened to our scoring. Oh no! Hold on. Nothing happened to our scoring. We got pit stops. Keith Batson and Nathan Ormond, I think, actually were on the tail end of the lead lap. They had just come to pit road. They were on fresher tires, and that's why they were able to fly by as quickly as they were. Carson Gum was actually the race leader there, as these drivers could not make it. How about that? So now our entire lineup is going to completely change, and I don't have a clue who's going to be the race leader either. Maybe Destin Bolt? No? Norman Shelton Dollarton up here. Actually, I think this is good. Okay, so I think what happened was we didn't see Ormond and Batson pit, but I think this is going to cycle around to being the race for the lead. They took advantage of the fresh tires, were able to get by then race leader Eric Sadler, who then came to pit road, turned the lead over to Carson Gum. I think this is going to be your battle for the race lead now. And now everybody should be able to, at this point, be able to make it the rest of the way. So how about that? Another fuel strategy race. This time, though, with quite a margin of laps still remaining. This next time by, there will still be 19 laps to go. But now we'll have to kind of figure out all the shakeup of this, who is running where, and if indeed these two can keep it amongst themselves, potentially for this race win, for another little under 20 laps. Scoring is showing them second and third, so they're not the leaders. Who is the leader? Car on pit road, that's Kyler Sustre. That's not the leader. There was another car I thought I saw on pit road. Oh, yep, who was that? Was that Osborne? No, it was Connor Breton. Breton stayed out a little bit longer to get himself a lap lead, so now Ormond and Batson should move around him, and now they'll go to the race lead. And we'll now be able to get an idea of who is where. Because second and third place, they were scored about 33 seconds behind the race leader, Breton, before he pit. So Ormond now is top of the board. Boy, all that just completely threw me off. I mean, I was thinking I was calling the battle for the race lead. There was two drivers battling on the tail end of the lead lap. Eventually now they are battling for the race lead, but they weren't at the point that I suspected. Laura Chung now a lap down, so scoring has us with 36 drivers, it looks like, on the lead lap. But the field is very, very spread out. There's first and second with the lap car of Chung. There's the battle for third, who are about half a straightaway behind. They got a big pack of cars here, too. Michael Norman, Jessica Shelton, Chris Dollarton, Destin Bolin, Kyle Matthews, Charles Sanford. Look at all the S3 Motorsports cars up here. Summer Henson's up in this group. Dylan Poteet, Anthony McCurry. I see Nick Gunther back there. Alexander Rowe. Zachary Fitzwater. And who was that car just at the very tail end of that group? Was that Levi McIntyre, I think? Looking at lap times, this group is much faster than Ormond and Batson. They're going to catch them. Yeah, they can see them right now. They're a little less than half a straightaway behind. They've got more cars. They're carrying more speed. And Michael Norman right now hitting 211 through the corners. These drivers here hitting somewhere between 208 to 209. Laura Chung now hoping for a caution because she would be on the tail end of the lead lap. As Ormond and Batson try and get themselves organized up into a tandem to pull away. Shelton now to the inside of Michael Norman. Man, can you imagine Jessica Shelton, the defending champion, finding victory lane here this afternoon? Remember, Shelton last season was nowhere really close to playoff conversation until she won that fuel strategy race just before the All-Star break at Chicagoland. She would then go on to win 2 more races, including the finale to win the championship. This season, it's kind of looking like deja vu. She is the lowest in the point standings of the full-time drivers at 40th. She is still searching for her first top 10 finish in these first 14 races. maybe today is the opportunity for her to be able to start beginning the road to defending her championship from one season ago. Charles Sanford now with a move on Michael Norman. Looking at lap times again. And right now, it looks like these two drivers are maintaining about the same amount of speed as the big group. Now they're going to get woed up there as they catch the slower car of Kyler Sustre. That's going to help this pack here big time. I mean, these guys backed it down to almost 203 miles per hour, while these guys are continuing to thunder at over 210 miles per hour. And look at the run they're getting down the back straightaway. If indeed they catch up, there's going to be 15 drivers that'll be up here in the conversation for the win. As they're going to catch the slower car of Kyler Sustre. Ooh, Norman tried to go to the outside of the four, didn't have quite enough room. He's going to hold this group up a little bit. 4 wide now with the 4 in the middle. But they are still within striking distance of the top 2. Fitzwater now leading that charge in the 3rd position. But Casey Hoyt, Daniel Voiles, they're back in their own little 2-car tandem, about 7.5 seconds behind the leaders. There they are. And then you got to go over 14 seconds back to this group. That is 18th on back, being led by Reggie Fogelman and Dylan Young. These drivers need a caution to get back into this. There's no way they're going to be able to catch up before the conclusion. Got Eric Sadler back here, who is tied for most laps led. He and Charles Sanford have both led 11 circuits out in front today. You got our pole sitter Joshua Osborne back here, last week's winner Ryan Brommer. A lot of drivers would love to see a caution to get themselves back up here in the hunt as the laps tick away and time is rapidly running out. We are approaching 10 laps to go in a couple of circuits here. As Fitzwater trying all he can to lead this second group up to just a whiff of draft off of the second place car of Keith Batson, who has broken off from Nathan Orman. That might be exactly what this group needs. They've still got time. They don't need to panic. They've definitely got the numbers and the momentum if they can just get in the slipstream of the 39. Let's go on board with the 83 and watch this process of him trying to get up close enough to get a whiff of draft. So we were on board with Fitzwater, that dial flashing red. That's because he carried 221 miles per hour at one point into turn number 3. Magic number right now for this group of drivers is 1.2 seconds. If they can close up to that, they should be close enough to be able to get draft, and I think they've done that. The last time by they were 1.5 seconds, but look at the gap now visibly between them and the top 2. Destin Bolin, that's only a few car lengths. Oh, we got some smoke right here in front of the leaders. Is the caution out? No, we're still green. Who even was that? Was that Quentin Moore? Or was that somebody up here in this group? Oh, it's Levi McIntyre. Look out. He's right in the middle of the track. Is that going to bring out a caution? It is. Yellow flag's going to wave. We're going to get ourselves a restart. The points leader goes around in 1 and 2. Caution's going to fly. We are going to have enough laps to go back green. And there's about almost 24 drivers that are just jumping for joy right now because they remained on the tail end of the lead lap. They're going to be up in this lead group for what's going to be a shootout to close this thing out. Batson's going to lead us to the caution. And did Quentin Moore? I think Quentin Moore may have actually beaten Keith Batson back to the line. So I think he stays on the tail end of the lead lap. Laura Chung was also ahead of the race leader. She'll be on the tail end of the lead lap as well. And this changes up everything, folks. Pit road's going to be open. You're not going to see anybody at the front come to pit road. Let's take a look at what brought out the yellow. I saw the skid marks. Wasn't certain if it was somebody up in the lead group or somebody that was about to maybe get lapped. And it was the points leader, Levi McIntyre. Just overstepping that cushion up on the top side. Right there. Somebody else also was up into the wall ahead of him. But right here, kind of like what we saw happen with Benjamin Snyder earlier on in the day, right there, car kind of catches into the wall, slides down the track, and watch, he's on the racing surface. I think it's Casey Hoyt comes into the vicinity right there. Because the 99 was slowed in the racing line with oncoming traffic, race officials had to throw the yellow. And that's going to bunch everybody back up. That's a tough break there for Levi. He was 13th, scored the previous lap. Who was the other car up and into the wall? I want to say it was the 89 of Quentin Moore, but I could be wrong. It could have been somebody else. Let's see if we can find the 89 car. Oh, maybe not. Wasn't him. Smoke actually was there already, so it was somebody else further up here. Could have been any one of these guys. Breton, maybe RJ Bishop. Benjamin Snyder might have gotten up in there again. Let's, we got time. Let's see if we can find who that driver was. Oh, I think it was, actually, I think Bishop and Snyder might have gotten together. And I'm a little surprised that this wasn't what would have brought out a yellow flag. Watch this. Bishop drives it in, gets into Snyder. Two of them go up and hit the outside wall. Was the caution out at this point? Was that what actually brought out the yellow? No, see, the light's still green. How did that not bring out the caution? But Bishop just drives it in there and gets into the left rear quarter panel of Snyder. Those two going to have more damage. But it's the Levi McIntyre spin that officially brings out this yellow flag and sets us up for a shootout that's going to be with less than 5 laps to go. Well, folks, next week the doubleheader returns. We'll see lights drivers back on track after they've enjoyed their little 1-week vacation, as we'll be at the Hillside Raceway. You talk about a unique racetrack. Hillside Raceway is kind of, I call it a condensed super speedway. You're going to see them double, 3, even on occasion 4 wide. It's a very unique pit road that intersects with entry and exit on the same straightaway. Always love going to that racetrack, and we're going to have both the Lights and the Cup Series drivers taking a taste of that particular venue. You'll have the Lights Pole Day qualifying on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday at 1, it's the Cup Series drivers qualifying session, followed a couple hours later at 3 o'clock by the Light Series race, and then Sunday at 1 p.m., it'll be the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series drivers getting ready for their 16th race of the season. Love the schedule we've got here for Season 8. It's brought about some really incredible finishes here in the first half of this regular season, and has not disappointed here in the second half either, with Charlotte last week, incredible fuel strategy race. This is shaping up to be a great race here in the debuting venue of Progressive Super Speedway. Hillside next week. We go short track racing at Iowa. We got Chicago Motor Speedway coming up, New Hampshire, How about Donkey Kong's Jungle Raceway for a road course stop here this season? I mean, are you kidding me? That is going to be an incredible race. Kentucky. Please, NASCAR, put it back on the actual schedule. We go back to Kentucky here this season. Homestead, mile-and-a-half racing. That track has always been good in terms of long-run speed, fuel strategy, pit strategy, what have you. Watkins Glen, a staple road course on the schedule. Hanford's going to come back again this season. I've been told there are some adjustments that are being made in that regard to hopefully not have the kind of situations we had last season with drivers that were going to be contenders out of the race with damage getting into the wall. We also then after that have Bristol Dirt, another wild card race, and Auto Club Speedway, the sister track to Michigan, our season finale venue, going to determine the 16 drivers that will be battling for this season's championship. And we haven't even gotten to the schedule of the playoff races, and oh my goodness, there's some good ones in there. All right, lights out on that pace truck. Half a lap away from what's going to be a 3-lap shootout to settle this one out at Progressive Super Speedway. Keith Batson has led 9 laps so far this afternoon. He's out in front. Nathan Norman's led the most laps with 13 circuits out in front. He lines up second. Destin Boland's going to be third with Jessica Shelton, Michael Norman, your top 5. 6th will be Kyle Matthews. 7th, Summer Henson. Anthony McCurry in 8th. 9th, Chris Dollerton, and Charles Sanford going to be your top 10. Only 2 of your top 10 are former winners this season. They line up in 2nd and 3rd place. So a number of drivers looking for their first win on the season. Just outside the top 10, you got Fitzwater, Rowe, Gunther, Poteet, and Hoyt. As we're going to have 37 drivers here on the lead lap, looking to see if someone can snipe a victory here in the closing stages of today's race at Progressive Super Speedway. 41 cars running, lap cars relegated to the back of the pack here with a single file restart being under less than 10 laps to go, and Keith Batson ready to get us going. 3 laps remaining. Who's going to time it correctly to pick up the victory here this afternoon? Green flag waves. Batson covering the inside line. You saw him shade a little low there as they approach the start-finish line, not allowing Ormond and company to get a jump on him going into turn 1. Battle to be for second. Destin Boland to the inside of Nathan Ormond. No help on the inside line, though, for the Maxwell House Ford. Your friends are where you find them now. We saw teammates all clustered together at certain points of this race. There are no teammates now. It's whoever is going to work with you, and sometimes you might have to force them to work with you. As Batson trying to control both lanes. He's got him stacked up double wide, almost 3 wide behind him now, with Henson, Boland, and Ormond going for second place. 2 to go. 4 wide, middle of the pack. I saw Gunther get kicked way up to the outside line there. Here comes Destin Boland to the bottom. Side by side for the lead off of turn 2. Boland has help from Norman. Batson has help from Ormond. It is blue oval versus blue oval in the first 2 rows. Boland looking for his 3rd win on the season, but he's going to lose momentum going into 3. Ormond clears to 2nd. Here comes McCrory for 3rd. Shelton with a side draft for 4th. Coming around to the white flag. Batson's done a great job of keeping him in the rearview mirror, but he's going to have to do it for 1 more circuit. White flag over the hood of the Sprite Mustang. He's got a big gap right now. That's not a good thing. Ormond looking to get a run out of 2 and down the back straightaway. McCrory could get a massive run here as well. Ormond's there, gonna look low. McCrory with a run as well. Does he try and take it 3 if he finds a lane? Ormond to the bottom. Batson on the top. Ormond had to lift a little bit. McCrory goes to the bottom though as well. Look at the run through the middle of the corner Batson's gonna be able to get. Unless Ormond gets a massive run here out of 4, I think Batson's got this. Remember, the start-finish line's all the way down here to the entrance of turn 1. And Keith Batson is handily, by about 3 car lengths, going to cross the line, and he will win here at Progressive Super Speedway, his first win of the season. Keith Batson. I believe, I've got to wait for scoring, but I believe that just gave him the bonus point for most laps led, or he tied for most laps led with Nathan Ormond. But Keith Batson, who came into this race 26th in points, did not get a good finish last week at Charlotte. He'll counter that this afternoon with a super speedway win. And Keith Batson just collected his 7th career Duracell Next Gen Cup Series victory. This will put him into the wild card conversation. We'll have to see where he's going to be in points now at the conclusion of this one. But well done to Keith Batson. We mentioned there are some drivers that we are used to seeing just about every season either win or point their way into the playoffs. Batson's another one. And he may have just locked himself a playoff spot up with his victory here this afternoon at Progressive Superspeedway. Looks like Batson and Ormond tied for most laps led this afternoon, 13 apiece, so they will share the bonus point for most laps led. But we'll have to see. Batson going into Charlotte was 21st in points. He fell to 26th. Let's see if he jumps up above 21st in points with his victory here this afternoon. Big win for the driver out of KB Racing Enterprises. Standings should be official. We'll take a look at them now. Batson will get the win. Ormond will bring it home in second. We'll have to see how much closer, if not above the cut line, this may put Ormond to put him back into the wild card conversation. Great runs this afternoon for a couple of drivers that really needed it. Podium finish for Anthony McCrory, just outside the podium for the defending champion Jessica Shelton. Michael Norman going to bring it home in 5th, so he may go back into the top 10 in overall standings. Nick Gunther may do the same, as last week he climbed up 8 spots in standings to 11th, and he finishes just outside of the top 10 in 7th this afternoon. Summer Henson, great run for her. She's going to get Rookie of the Race. Destin Bolin will finish back in 8th with Dylan Poteet, Zachary Fitzwater. The remainder of your top 10. Dollerton in his, his 3rd start of the season. He's going to bring it home just outside the top 10 in 11th. Casey Hoyt, teammate Austin Plant, 12th and 13th. Osborne, who started in the pole, finishes 14th. And Kyle Matthews will finish in the 15th position. You look on down through the remainder of the finishing results here. That caution, some drivers did not benefit from that, as Matthews and Sanford, also Benjamin Miles, Eric Sadler, they all kind of fell back there, got swallowed up in the closing stages of this one. Matt Haas did not go a perfect 3 for 3 in Superspeedway racing. He finished 35th this afternoon. And we ended up having 37 drivers finish on the lead lap. 4 drivers, 1 or more laps down. And Cody Lamas, the only driver that did not reach the conclusion. Only driver to DNF in 42nd place. But Keith Batson, the single car entry out of KB Racing Enterprises, gets to celebrate this afternoon. He gets to claim that he's the only driver so far in his career to win at Progressive Superspeedway. And as mentioned as well, picks up his 7th career Duracell Cup Series victory, which continues to climb him up on the all-time wins list. Congratulations to him on the victory this afternoon. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race here from Progressive Superspeedway. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We showed your full feature results, and you're now looking at the much-anticipated point standings heading into next week at Hillside. I mentioned the fact I felt this racetrack was going to be a wild card race. It was going to shake up the point standings. I can't see it, but I'm going to assume that there's a lot of shaking up there in the overall points around the 10th of standings cut line and all the rest of those other cut lines we talk about during this push towards the playoffs. Cannot wait to see how it changes the playoff grid in preparation for next week, as we are double-headering with the lights drivers coming back along with the cup drivers at Hillside Raceway. But until then, thanks everyone for tuning in this afternoon. I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.
following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.